We are going to walk through the process of completing an Ohio mock trial score sheet. At competition, every team will receive blank score sheets that need to be filled out before pretrial. Each team will complete one score sheet when playing the plaintiff prosecution side of the case, and 2 score sheets when playing the defense side of the case. We will start by looking at a blank score sheet from the plaintiff prosecution perspective. You will first need to complete the relevant information at the top of the form, so let's take a closer look. So you need to first identify whether this is districts, regionals, or states. So for the tutorial purpose, we'll call this districts. And then you need to write in the county in which you are competing. It's important that you write the county in which you are competing and not necessarily the county where your school is from. So for this tutorial, we're going to be competing in Franklin County. Then the next thing you need to do is identify which trial this is. So is it your first trial or your second trial? For this tutorial, we will call this trial 1. You may leave all of this information. The judges will fill that out on their own. The next thing you need to do is put in your school and team name or team number. So for this tutorial, it will be OCLRE as the school and team 1 as the team name. So you've filled out all of that information. Now you can actually start writing in the student information for the score sheet. So let's look at, I like to do what I call the bookends of the score sheet. So that's your opening statement and your closing arguments. So we are the plaintiff prosecution side. So I want to write in the attorney that will be doing opening statements. And for this, it is going to be Danielle Wilmot. And then I want to do the other end, which would be closing arguments. So we know that will be Jenna Lewis. Okay, now you have your bookends and you want to look at your case in chief. So that would be our plaintiff prosecution witnesses. So starting with the first witness, we want to write in the character name. So we know we're just going to go in order of the case file for this tutorial. So the first witness will be Denver Saidi. So we know Denver Saidi is the character. Then we know who will be direct examining Denver is going to be Jenna Lewis. So we will write that information. And then we need to know which student will be portraying Denver Saidi, and that will be Kate Strickland. You will notice I skipped over cross attorney, and that is because we haven't met with our opponent yet, so we don't know who is going to be cross-examining Denver Saidi. And then this portion just is left blank anyway. It's only there to capture a score. So we're ready to go on to our second witness. So again, we're just going in order of the case file. So Jules Melnick is our second witness. That's our second character. We know that since Jenna Lewis already did the direct examination of Denver, that leaves our other attorney, Danielle Wilmot, to do the direct examination of Jules Melnick. We still have to skip over cross because we do not know who the other team is going to have cross-examine our witness. But we do know who will be portraying this witness, and that will be Kathy Godfrey. Okay, that is all the information we can fill out for right now. So because we have not met with our opponent, we cannot fill out who their school and team is. We don't know who any of their cross-examining attorneys are, and we don't know who any of the defense witnesses are. So we have all of our information filled out and ready to go. So we will then have to confer with the defense team to fill out the rest of the information. Okay, now let's look at a blank score sheet from the defense perspective. Once again, you will need to complete the information at the top of the page. So let's zoom in so we can get a closer look. So this is a blank score sheet from the defense perspective. So we have to fill all this information out. So we are going to choose district, regional, or state competition. For the purposes of this tutorial, we are calling it districts. Then you also need to write in the county in which you are competing. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we will call that Franklin County. We also need to identify whether this is trial 1 or trial 2. So for this purpose, we will call this our first trial of the day. Skipping over that information, we need to write in, as the defense side, the name of our school and our team. So the school is OCLRE again, but the team is actually going to be team 2 this time. So defense is OCLRE team 2. Once again, I like to start with the bookends being the opening statements and the closing arguments. So the defense, we know that the opening statements will be delivered by Danny Rains. So we write her name in, and then we know that the closing arguments will be delivered by Ryan Susky, so we write his name in. We are going to skip over all of the plaintiff prosecution witnesses for now because we have not yet met with the other team, so we don't have that information at this time. So we will go straight to our case in chief by looking at the defense witnesses. So we are going to write in the character name. We're, for the purposes of this tutorial, just going in order of the case file. So the first defense witness is Wyatt Latu. And this is our witness, so we know that Ryan Susky is going to do the direct examination of Wyatt. We have to skip over cross-examination for now because we don't know who the other team is going to have cross-examine our witness. But we do know who is going to portray Wyatt Latu, and that will be Caleb Caldwell. This box stays blank, it's just there to capture a score. So we're going to go to our second defense witness, and this is the character. Again, going in order, it would be Sloan Rossi. And this is our witness. So we know that since Ryan Susky already direct examined Wyatt Latu, that leaves our other attorney, Danny Rains, to direct examine Sloan Rossi. We have to skip the cross attorney since we don't know that yet, but we do know who will portray Sloan Rossi, and that is Ben Sandlin. So that fills out everything for the defense side. So this was our blank score sheet. We're filling this out as defense. Just as a reminder, the defense is doing this 2 times. So you would do this on 2 score sheets. You've completed all of the top information. We don't know any of the prosecution witnesses yet. We did put in our opening statement attorney. We did as much information for our defense witnesses as we can. We have our defense attorney. So that's everything we can do for right now until we meet with our opponent and fill out the rest of the information. Now we are going to look at the score sheet that we have already completed, and we are in the courtroom with our opponent ready to fill out the missing information. So just a reminder, this should be done before pretrial starts so that once pretrial is ready to go, you can just turn in the completed score sheets and get started right away. So let's take a look at the score sheets we've already filled out, starting with the prosecution. We have some missing information that we need to complete, and now that our opponent is in the room with us, we can go ahead and do that. They are going to tell us their team and school name, so this is OCLRE Team 2. Then we want to get the bookend information from them, so that's our opening statement and closing arguments. They tell us Danny Rains is doing the opening, and Ryan Susky is doing the closing. So we've written in that information. Now we can finish our case in chief because we just need to know who's cross-examining each of our witnesses. So we tell our opponent that Denver Saidi is our first witness, and they tell us that Ryan Susky is going to cross-examine Denver. Again, this is blank, that's just there for a score. So we tell them our second witness is Jules Melnick, and they tell us Danny Rains is going to cross-examine Jules Melnick. We're leaving this blank, nothing goes there. So now we're ready to fill in all of this defense information. So they tell us who their first defense witness is, and it is Wyatt Latu. They tell us that Ryan Susky is going to direct examine Wyatt Latu. They tell us that Caleb Caldwell is the student who is portraying Wyatt Latu. So we knew it was a possibility that Wyatt Latu would be called, so we already know who our cross-examining attorney is going to be, and that is Jenna Lewis. Nothing goes in this box, so we're ready for defense witness 2, and they tell us that is going to be Sloan Rossi. They tell us that Danny Rains is going to direct examine Sloan Rossi, and that Sloan Rossi is portrayed by Ben Sandlin. And again, we knew it was a possibility Sloan Rossi would be called, so we already know that Danielle Wilmot is prepared to do the cross-examination. Nothing goes in this box, so we are all done. So as the prosecution, we now have a fully completed score sheet that we are ready to turn over to the judges. Now we need to look at it from the defense side. And just as a reminder, the defense team is going to do this whole process twice because they complete 2 score sheets. So the first thing we need to know from the defense, or we are the defense, so the first thing we need to know from prosecution is who they are. They are OCLRE Team 1. Starting with our bookends of opening statements and closing arguments, they tell us that Danielle Wilmot will be doing opening statements and that Jenna Lewis will be doing closing arguments. We don't have any of the prosecution witness information yet, so we need all of that from them. Well, Denver Saidi is going to be their first witness, so we have Denver Saidi written in. Then they tell us that it is Jenna Lewis who will be direct examining Denver Saidi, and they tell us that Kate Strickland will be the person portraying Denver Saidi. We knew it was a possibility that they were going to call Denver, so we are already prepared, and we know Ryan Susky is going to do the cross-examination of Denver. Their second witness is Jules Melnick, and they tell us that Danielle Wilmot is doing the direct examination of Jules Melnick, and they tell us that Kathy Godfrey is who is portraying Jules Melnick. Once again, we were prepared because we knew they might call Jules, so we know that Danny Rains is going to cross-examine Jules Melnick. Nothing goes in these boxes, so those are good to stay blank. Now we can finish all of our defense information. We had most of it, but we have to tell them who our witnesses are so they can tell us who is cross-examining each witness. So Wyatt Latu is our first witness, and they tell us that Jenna Lewis is going to cross-examine Wyatt Latu. Nothing goes in this box, so we can move on to Sloan Rossi. They tell us that Sloan Rossi will be cross-examined by Danielle Wilmot. And nothing goes in this box, so we are good to go there. We've already done our closing arguments, so this score sheet is completed and ready to go. Reminder, as defense, we're doing that 2 times. As prosecution, we're just doing that 1 time. So now we should just, to be extra sure, make sure our score sheets match. Since the judges will be getting this, we want to make sure everything is in good shape and in the right order. So we will confirm with our opponent that all 3 score sheets match and are ready to go. And once everything is good, we can hand that to the judges for pretrial and get things going. So that's it. That's how you fill out a score sheet for the Ohio Mock Trial Program.